Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview in our series for the Law Marketing Zone Group. I'm very excited today to welcome Carter Phillips, a juvenile and criminal attorney out of Hampton, Virginia, and here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Carter.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about your journey, so we'd love to hear what you've done, where you've been, things that you've tried that have worked. Can you share your journey with us?
I practiced law for 31 years. I've been with a few firms. I started out with legal aid back in 1990. I then went to work for two other firms. I went to work for another firm, and then I went on my own with another fellow. We had our own firm for about 11 years, and due to some health problems he had that were taking up, he had to have numerous surgeries, and due to the fact that the economy collapsed in 2008, really that's when I just went out and worked for another firm for about 2 years, and then went back out on my own after that. And I've been on my own for the last 11 years. And it's tough because I don't even have a secretary, and that's becoming all too common. There's 5 attorneys I can name right off the top of my head in Hampton that do not have secretaries. What I've noticed too is that when I came in, I was a very young lawyer. Now I'm a much older lawyer. And what I've seen is a really drop in the number of lawyers in our area. The only time you see new lawyers now usually is in either you see them maybe at legal aid, you'll see them in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office or the Public Defender's Office. But that's a boon for me. I'm happy about that because there was this really way too much competition when I first started.
Okay.
I've tried different advertising, including TV advertising. The only thing that's remotely working right now for me is that there's a firm that works with Google, and I pay them a fee every month. But to really do that really well, I think you got to be willing to pay $1,000 or more. That's just not something I really can do at this point. I've worked through the pandemic, even though a lot of businesses were closed in Virginia, the governor closed down the state, but we didn't close our court. Well, some court systems were closed. The court systems in my area were not. They stayed open. And here in the city of Hampton, I was in my office every day. The floor I was on, I was the only person there. So I wasn't worried about getting COVID. And it was kind of interesting because I picked up a fair amount of business from that while everybody else was kind of shut out from doing anything. It was it was fun for me because I was getting calls and they're like, can you come over and help with this case? Or I had to be a kid's guardian ad litem one day because one of the victims of her many crimes was her father. And there was a lot of detail to this particular case. And I asked the Commonwealth attorney, I said, well, when's the trial start? He said, 10 minutes.
Oh, no.
So I'm doing a lot of fast talking with a defense attorney. He's bringing me up to speed on what's really gone on in this case. But that was fine. I enjoyed doing that.
We've had clients that got cases during COVID just because they were in the office and the phone rang, they answered the phone.
Same here. That's what happened. So I was a lucky guy there. And people found me different ways. Some people see me on Facebook. Some people, I got retained recently by a client, and this woman retained me to represent her daughter in some traffic matters. And I thought they'd found me on Google. So I thought, oh, wow, that Google's really working for me. Well, at the end of the interview, I said, how did you hear about me? They said, well, this therapist told you about us. And she named the therapist. I said, I don't know who that is. And they said, well, she sure knows you. And she said, you're a very good attorney. So I thought, well, that's good to hear. Yeah. That really is. So word of mouth is working for me somewhat.
Well, let me ask you the question about, you said you and quite a few other attorneys that are solo attorneys right now. Do you outsource any paralegal work, or are you handling everything yourself?
I have one person I turn to if it's something I do a lot of my own letters, but if it's a pleading, those take time. And and some days you're just in court so much. So there's somebody I do outsource it to. So I have a working relationship with where I'll pay her per the job,
Okay.
not a flat fee per month or per week, just whatever the job is. And if it's the longer, the bigger the job, the more I have to pay her. But yeah, that's what I do right now.
It takes that pressure off of you for the long time duration jobs. Okay.
Well, yeah, exactly. And this one, I've done this one for years, and she was in this building with me in the same building with me at one point. So it was good to keep that friendship with her and say, look, can you do this? And, she does it, and then I pay her. So
Nice.
that's good.
So now thinking about the question I ask everybody that comes on here is, and knowing that you never close down might not qualify you for this question, but I'm asking people, what did you do during the pandemic? What did you change in your firm that you're going to keep post-pandemic, if anything?
I don't think I really changed anything. That was the kind of the interesting thing. I just went to work every day, despite the pandemic. So it was just another day every day was just another day in the office. And the one thing about me is my cell phone is my only phone. So people can reach me 24 hours a day if they have to.
Okay.
And I'm the only person here who does that. I know I've looked at, like, for example, I had to find a woman came to me and said, can you help me find a lawyer in Miami, Florida? And I found her some attorneys. And all those folks down in that city were putting their cell phones on, cell phone numbers on the internet. Up here, that's just not done, except for me. I've done it. I'm the only one who's done it. And you think more people would want to call me. I do get a lot of calls, but a lot of people just want to get basic information. And you have to be careful about that, because if it's something that's going to take some time, I'd rather sit down with them and talk to them in person.
Yeah.
Because, you think about that because of malpractice reasons. So anyway.
That makes sense. So it sounds like out of all the different marketing types of things you've done over the years, the one thing that seems to be working that's cost effective at the moment is the SEO and the Google My Business thing that you've got working on, because you're not doing anything else right now and you're getting referrals too, correct?
Yes, I'm getting some referrals. Yes.
Okay.
Not as many as I want. So.
Okay. And so
anyway,
when we ask the question, what technologies are critical to your firm? Clearly your cell phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cell phone and laptop. And that's very, very important. And, you try to keep abreast of, you look at the technology that's out there, but by the same token, you've got so much else going on. Like, you're trying to keep up with, your continuing legal education every year. That's due for us at the end of this month here in Virginia. Fortunately, I have mine all done. So really, I don't go anywhere without the cell phone. The only time I don't have the cell phone with me, I'm in the shower. Other than that, it's with me 24 hours a day. It's by my bedside at night. And yeah, the laptop, you've got to keep your your computer up and working, and those two things help you survive in this business.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's fantastic. I really appreciate your time and do you have any advice to younger attorneys starting out that,
Yeah, I do. The one thing I think you should do is before before you get out of law school, even like your third year law school, or your or even when you're a young attorney, you passed the bar, and then you got you're the real deal. Think about what you really want to practice. I always really wanted to do criminal and just a couple of other things, and that was pretty much it. Looking back on it, did I think about how much money I would make? No, I never thought of it in those terms. So I think you should look at what interests you and makes you happy. Two, look at what's really going on right now. Like personal injury, huge field. And, I've talked to people who work for firms and like, well, how do you get a job like that? And they become really guarded about it because everybody's protecting their fiefdom these days. But, think about what you really want to do But the other thing is how you're going to make money. And I tell you, it's being on your own sounds great, but it's like pulling, uh, you know, a bag of sand up a steep hill every single day. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, when I first became a lawyer, one of the reasons I became a lawyer was I wanted to go run for political office. I soon realized that wasn't going to happen for me. I moved to an area where I didn't know anybody. And now I know I love this place now because I have a lot of friends. A lot of people like me. There's a lot of people that I like, but it feels like it's my city. There's two lives you live with: the one you grow up with, one you learn with, and then one you live with. And for me, this has been a great city to be in. But I think you've got to think: where do you want to live? Do you really want to live in the city that you're in? I didn't want to stay in my own town. What do you want to practice? I wanted to do criminal law. And is there something else you want to do? Do you want to help poor people? Do you want to represent, criminal defendants? Do you have certain religious beliefs that push you towards doing poverty law or working for the public defender's office? So those things, all come into play. You should be thinking about those really when you start out. And I wish somebody had given me that kind of advice, but knowing that my family was a lawyer, knowing my family, I was on my mom's side, at least, I was the highest educated person they'd ever had. So,
well, that's great advice. I mean, we had another interviewer that suggested to niche down, find what, not as broadly as you said, but she picked something very, very niche that she wanted to do, and it made a difference. So I think planning ahead, that's great advice. Absolutely. Because there's so many options, and you're right. Find something you love to do. So, because you're going to make it full time.
Yeah. And know where you want to figure out where you want to live, because I really didn't want to go to Northern Virginia. That was kind of in the back of my head. I thought, man, I don't want to go there because the traffic is just abysmal. But in getting to court, it's a nightmare. I talked to a lawyer years ago who said he lived 20 minutes from the courthouse in Northern Virginia, and it was 20 minutes on a Sunday. On a Monday, it was like an hour and a half. So I thought, well, that's not an area I really want to go to. But think about where you want to live. If you're happy with your hometown, fine. If you're not, figure out where you want to go.
Right. Well, that's great advice. Definitely. I really appreciate everything that you've given us today. This has been a lovely time to spend with you, and you've given us some great information. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for joining us for another interview of the Law Marketing Zone Group. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks.